Hello, Walking the Ropes fans. I am Blake, and welcome to the next episode of Walking the Ropes Wrestling Review for AEW Dynamite, July 14th, 2021, from Cedar Park, Texas. In today's show, we have two amazing title matches, a feud heats up, a 10-man match is made, legends collide, and the final nail is driven into a coffin. But before that, make sure to check out the Walking the Ropes link tree for all things Walking the Ropes. To open the show, we had the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match, Jon Moxley defending against Carl Anderson. But before that match actually physically started, we had Eddie Kingston jumping Doc Gallows with a pipe, and they brawled all the way to the back, and we never saw them for the rest of the match. We then get Moxley and Anderson. They are literally holding nothing back here. Right out of the gate, they're exchanging elbows, and Moxley hits a headbutt followed by a clothesline to the outside. Anderson eventually reverses it when Moxley goes for a suplex on the stage, and then Anderson hits one of his own instead. Back in the ring, Anderson hits a spinebuster and gets a near fall. Followed that, Moxley quickly switches to a sleeper hold, and Anderson slips out and hits a big knee and a pile driver for a near fall. Anderson is in control here and is able to hit the gun stun on Moxley, but he rolled away to the ropes, giving him a moment to breathe. Anderson then hits a second gun stun. He gets a near fall here, and decides to go to the top rope for a third gun stun, but Moxley fights out and hits the paradigm shift for the win. Jon Moxley defeats Carl Anderson to retain the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. And for the Malteser scale for that match, I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 because that match just was a great way to open a show, and I'm so amazed with how AEW loves to open their shows because they constantly have just crazy opening matches. They've been my match of the night in multiple cases. It's amazing what AEW does with the opening match. And then after the match, we get Lance Archer laying down a challenge to Moxley. He says Moxley has had a great record with the IWGP Championship. And that started when Moxley beat Archer in a Texas death match. Archer says he wants a rematch in a Texas death match next week. I believe it's in Dallas, Texas. I could be wrong about the exact location where it is next week, but following that, we get Andrade El Idolo talking backstage. He says, he asks Alex Abrahantes where Death Triangle is, and he says, if you see them, to let them know El Idolo is looking for them. And after that, we get our second championship match of the night, the FTW Championship. Brian Cage defending against Ricky Starks. And pretty much as expected, Cage is in control of the match to start. Starks is able to get some offense going, and he's targeting Cage's arm, the surgically repaired, I believe multiple times. I could be wrong about that as well. Starks goes for a dive here and is caught by Cage, who then just single arm curls Ricky, and he goes to toss him onto his shoulders, probably going for the F5, but Starks turns it into a crucifix bomb for a 1 count. Ricky then goes to grab the FTW title, but is stopped by Cage, and Starks then is able to lock in a sleeper, but Cage does fight out and turns it into a pump handle driver for a near fall when Ricky gets to his feet on the ropes. Gets his feet onto the ropes. My bad, I misspoke a bit there. Starks goes for the title again, but is stopped by Hobbs this time. And Cage then hits the F5 for a near fall, and Cage is then setting up for a discus clothesline, and during that, kind of beside him, but doesn't look like Cage notices it, Hook is distracting the ref. Ricky moves out of the way of the clothesline, and Hobbs smashes Cage with the FTW title. Starks then spears Cage for the win. Ricky Starks defeats Brian Cage to win the FTW World Championship. For the Malteser scale, I gave it a 3.25 out of 5. It was a really good match, solid. I was a bit surprised that Taz turned on Cage here, because it seemed like Taz was kind of going to be like they were kind of going to be the Brock Lesnar Paul Heyman, but seems like they've turned away from that now. We then see Cody making his way to the announcer's desk. He's calling out Malachi Black, saying all it would have taken is a phone call. We don't kick the head off of legends, basically. And Cody says he's like, you know what, this isn't enough. He goes down to the ring with a mic. He calls out Malachi Black and says, "This is Fyter Fest, and I feel like fighting." And Malachi appears on the screen and talks about a man and his prize horse and how he wanted the horse to go down with dignity. And how he was comparing this to what he did last week, and how he no longer saw the spark in Cody's eye, and how he wanted it to go out, wanted Cody to go out with some dignity instead of just losing his luster, I guess. Cody tells him to come down here, and Malachi says, "I thought you'd never ask," and the lights go out, and Malachi appears in the ring. They brawl right away, and only are separated by the refs and security and whoever else decided to help and separate them. We then see Tully walking backstage. It looks like he might even be leaving. He's talking about what happened last week, but he's immediately interrupted by Santana and Ortiz. And they act like they're going to beat him up with a pipe, but they show him it's fake, and they say that next time it won't be. We then get Adam Page making his way to the ring, and he's interviewed by Tony Schiavone. And he says that when he came to AEW, he wanted to be champion, but he failed. And then he hid. But he says the Dark Order was right, and he needs that title. And he's just about to challenge Kenny when Don Callis makes his way out and starts interrupting him. We then get Don, Nick, and Doc saying to Adam, "You're not that guy. You're not that guy." They're referencing the joke from the one video. It was very funny. I quite enjoyed it. We then get Matt Jackson saying he wants to say something to his face. So he gets in the ring and he says Hangman, they're the friends that Hangman abandoned for the Dark Order. Calls him a sad, lonely drunk, and says that he is the next wrestling tragedy. And then after that, Hangman's heard enough and he knocks him down immediately, and he's fending off the Elite from getting into the ring. But Kenny's up behind him, and he's just about to jump Hangman, but he's quickly stopped by the Dark Order. Hangman says he wants a match. Kenny says we can do that, but it's got to be Dark Order versus the Elite, 5-on-5 elimination style. And Adam says that that's not the match he wanted, but if he'll do it. But when they win, he gets a title shot, as well as Uno and Stu get a title shot at the tag titles. Don says something to Kenny in his ear, and then Kenny gets in the ring, and he says that when his boys win, and Stu and Uno will not get the title shot, and neither will Hangman. Kenny says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Kenny then goes to leave, but Adam gets in his face and says, "You're on." And it looks like the Dark Order kind of was hesitant about this. We then get Jericho talking about the 5 labors of Jericho, and he says no matter what MJF throws at him, he's going to win. Jericho's then jumped by MJF and Shawn Spears, and MJF tells Jericho that Spears is the first challenge, and that the stipulation is that Spears can use a chair and Jericho can't. They smash Jericho's injured arm with a chair, and then we move on to the next match. We have Matt Hardy versus Christian Cage. And right from the start, they lock up and spill outside, and Cage sends Matt into the barricade and rolls into the ring. Cage then immediately hops up to the top rope and hits a dive on Matt to the outside. Back in the ring, Cage is in firm control and runs at Matt in the corner, but he moves and kind of slips through the ropes and pulls Cage through and hits a DDT onto the steps. And back in the ring, Matt is in control. He slingshots Cage into the middle rope, and it seems like Cage is starting to get some life. They're starting to go a bit back and forth here. Cage goes for the kill switch, but Hardy turns it into the twist of fate. Cage gets out. He sets up for the spear, and Hardy moves, thinking he's sent Cage into the post, but Cage stopped just before and hit a spear for a near fall. Matt then distracts the ref and low blows Cage kind of at the same time, and then hits the twist of fate for a near fall. He then follows Cage outside and locks in the leech outside the ring. And Matt lets go and gets back in the ring and waits for the count. And Cage beats the count at 9. He rolls in and he hits the kill switch and gets the win. Cage defeats Matt Hardy. Or Christian Cage, defeats Matt Hardy. For my Malteser scale for that match, I gave it a 3.25 out of 5. It was a really, really good match, but I still feel like there might be more coming for these two. And after the match, the Hardy family office comes to the ring. They go to jump Cage, but Jurassic Express makes the save, and that's all we get. Miro talks backstage about a rich man becoming a champion. He goes on and on for a little bit, but in the long run, it's basically all about him. He then shows off a new version of the TNT Championship. It's white leather. I believe the face was still gold, and the red is now green. It looks very nice. I didn't hate the design, although I was a bit surprised they changed the title design so quickly. I don't know, maybe it's just for Miro, but I would be surprised if that was the case. We then get Britt Baker talking about Nyla, and she says to not worry about her because Britt is in a league of her own, and she'll be fine. She says that Vicky is lucky to have a name to keep her relevant, but Nyla doesn't, and she needs the title, but she won't get it. And Vicky and Nyla respond. They're backstage, and they say they're going to take the title next week. Jon Moxley is shown, and he accepts Archer's challenge for next week. He says, "You may be Texas-born, Texas-bred, but next week you're going to be Texas-dead." So I look forward to seeing that match for sure. We get a singles match next. Wheeler Yuta with the Best Friends versus Sammy Guevara. And this is Wheeler Yuta's AEW Dynamite debut. He had a match, I believe, on Dark recently, but no Dynamites yet. And they lock up immediately, and then they go back and forth with some flips. Sammy goes for a dive, but Yuta moves again. Sammy flips again, and then hits. So that was going to be like a dive to the outside, and he flips and hits the taunt that he does. Like he's laying on his side there. They go back and forth in the ring, and Sammy flips around some more and hits a standing shooting star press. And Yuta is sent outside, but he hangs on and knocks Sammy down and goes up to the top rope and hits a splash for a 1 count. Sammy then tosses Yuta across the ring and kicks him and hits a springboard cutter into the GTH for the win. Sammy Guevara defeats Wheeler Yuta. For my Malteser scale, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was a bit of a quick match. I wish it went a bit longer, but it was nice. It showed the talent of Wheeler, and hopefully we'll see more of him in the future. Moving on from that, we get the singles match. Again, Penelope Ford versus Yuka Sakazaki. Yuka tosses Ford around the ring to start out, and Ford keeps trying to get going, but Yuka just stops her. Yuka hits a cannonball dive to the outside, and Ford eventually is able to take control, and Yuka's in the ropes, and gets a 1 count there. Like, she sends Yuka into the ropes, hanging her up there, and she gets a 1 count. Ford hits a handspring elbow for a big kick, and then tosses Yuka across the ring to the apron, where Ford then follows it up with a double knee drop. Ford then locks in an Indian deathlock. Yuka makes it to the ropes first, but Ford drags her back and locks it in again. But Yuka does make it to the ropes again. They follow it up and exchange shots. until eventually Yuka knocks down Ford and hits the Magic Girl Splash for the win. Yuka Sakazaki defeats Penelope Ford. And my Malteser scale, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Again, it was a bit of a quick match, but I still enjoyed it. It was the return of Yuka Sakazaki, after, I think they said 16 months, which was insane. So great match for her to return with. And following that, we get the coffin match in the main event. Darby Allin versus Ethan Page. And to start out, Darby Allin jumps Page before the bell even rings, and immediately takes off his jacket and shows that he has this steel plate on his back, and he hits the coffin drop, and they go outside, and he hits a dive. Darby goes to open the coffin, but Scorpio's inside, and he sends Darby into the steps. And Sting comes out, and he takes Sky through the crowd, and they battle. And Sting sends Sky onto the hockey boards so Scorpio was going to hit a dive. Sting swept his legs out and knocked him onto the hockey boards there and beats on him with the garbage can. And yeah, they brawl to the back by this point. And Page is taking the bottom rope off of the ring at this point, the one turnbuckle he's undoing. We then get Page sent over the barricade by Darby, and they are now at the same hockey boards that Sting and Sky were just at. Darby sends Page into the rails and jumps off up the stair entranceway to where you get to the stands. He jumps off of that, but is caught by Page, and he just tosses Darby into the railings, into whatever he can. He stretches him over top of the railings, and Page carries Darby down the stairs towards the arena, or towards the ring again, and tosses him onto the concrete. And Page boots Darby back to the ring area and puts the steps in the ring and sends Darby flying into the steps. Darby is able to climb up to the top rope, and he goes for a shoulder block, but Page just stops him in midair and sends him down. Page grabs the steel hook from the ropes that he untied earlier, and he hooks it onto Darby's necklace and just drags him right to the mat. Darby then comes back and hits Page with the hook, and then fish hooks him in the mouth with it. And then Darby sends the steps into Page, and he rolls into the coffin. Darby goes to close it, but Page drags him into the coffin, and they brawl. Darby is biting the hand of Page, and he's flipped out of the coffin by Page, and Page takes Darby up on the steps once again back in the ring. Darby fights out, hits a stunner, goes to the top rope, and is stopped by Page quickly. Page hits the Ego's edge from the top rope onto the steps in the ring again, and Page goes for a suplex, but Darby gouges out his eyes, grabs the skateboard, jumps up onto the top rope, and hits Page with it, knocking him into the coffin, and he closes the lid for the win. Darby Allin defeats Ethan Page. For my Malteser scale, I gave this a 5 out of 5. It was an absolutely perfect match. I can't see them doing anything different with this match. This definitely won't be the last coffin match for AEW at all, and I look forward to seeing what they have planned for the future. After the match, Darby then hits the coffin drop through the coffin onto Ethan Page, and the show closes. My overall for the show, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It was a really solid build for a show. Like I said, I'm super excited about everything AEW does from here on out, and always have been. For my segment of the night, I gave it to the Dark Order versus the Elite match being made. That was really awesome, and I look forward to seeing what happens there. My match of the night is definitely the coffin match, 100%. That was an insane match. Those two had put everything on the line, and yeah, I absolutely enjoyed every moment of that match. And for my performers of the night, it goes to Darby Allin and Ethan Page, 100%. They put everything, like I said, on the line, and they made an amazing match for the fans to watch, and I'm so happy that they were able to pull it off. But that is all for this episode of Walking the Ropes Wrestling Review. Thank you all for dropping in. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notifications whenever we upload a video. I'll see you in the next one.